I'm Mike Fina, Executive Director of the Oklahoma Municipal League. Today, we'll be doing a walkthrough on how you can apply for your American Rescue Plan Act funding, or more commonly known as ARPA. We'll be going through the entire process from how you sign up for your login information for the state portal to how you input your information and upload documents in the state portal. We've also created a slideshow that you will be able to find at oml.org to help you through this process. Now, let's get on with the program. Here's what we'll be covering on the agenda today. First, we'll go through the what-ifs. What if you encounter this? What do you do next? We'll also be doing a complete walkthrough of the NEU portal. We'll have screenshots directly from the portal so you know what you're looking at before you even get there to input your information and apply for your funds. We'll go through some of the known missteps that we've encountered as we've been working with the municipalities to this point. We'll talk about what we're going to be doing moving forward, and then finally we'll review the whole process, and that'll be the program. So let's begin with the what-ifs. It's what if you encounter this? We wanted you to have the tools to know how to deal with the common problems that we've experienced with the portal signups. So what if you didn't receive your email from the state with your login credentials? That's simple. You can reach out to any one of the partners who's working on this, whether it be OMES at the state, OML, or OMAG, and we'll be able to help get that information to you. But what if you registered and you set up your credentials, but you can't get logged on when you get to the beginning of the portal? There's a simple password reset button. If you have signed up for Amazon or other online platforms, you've probably dealt with retrieving your password. So it's a simple process. Just hit the forgot password, follow the instructions, and we'll get you set up and get you in the portal. What if you made it in, you started to fill out your application, and then you had to stop? Can you still complete it? Absolutely, you can still complete it. You can, in most instances, you can pick up right where you left off. The worst case scenario is you have to start over, but it's not a cumbersome process, so even if you have to do that, it's not a big problem. Now, this is the one that I want everyone to be careful about. If you initially decide that you're going to decline your funds, and there will be a box that you will have to make that decision at in the process, and you accidentally hit the no, does that mean that you're not going to get your funds? Not exactly. You can still go back and begin a new application, or if you just made a mistake, please let any of us know, and we'll help to rectify that problem. Now we'll go through the actual walkthrough of the portal and how you'll sign up. There's 14 easy steps starting from logging on all the way to the final piece, and we'll go through each one of them in the next few slides. The first is just logging in. You should have received an email with your login information and how to set up your password for the first time. If you haven't, again, reach back to OML or any one of the municipal partners and we'll be able to help get you that information. Once you have that, you can either follow the link in the email or you can go to okgov.foce.com/ARPA. That will get you to the login. You basically put in your username and your password information and click log on. If you don't know your password and you've forgotten it, you'll need to reset it, and just what we talked about earlier, hit the forgot your password button and then follow the instructions. Once you've done that, you should be able to log into the portal. Now that you logged into the portal, you'll come to the main screen, and in the upper right hand corner, as you'll see in box 3B on your screen, you'll want to hit My Applications. That will take you to another screen that you see in box 4, and you'll see down there at the bottom left hand corner your subrecipient agreement number. They're always going to start with an 11. So hit that, which will bring you to the next box, which is box number 5. And then now at the right, if you see where the arrow is pointing on the screen, you'll want to hit the tab that says New NEU Financial Activity. Now, as you move through these screens, you'll start to have pop-up boxes come on to the portal for you to fill in information. The first one I want to highlight because that's the authorized representative. And an authorized representative is an individual with legal authority to bind the government entity. An authorized representative must sign the acceptance of the award terms to be valid. Now, it's strongly recommended that your municipality pass a resolution appointing a specific person to be the authorized representative to sign the award's terms and conditions. So please talk to your attorney about passing a resolution in one of your upcoming council meetings. We have a sample resolution that, again, you can find at oml.org. We will also be emailing those out to everybody on our ARPA email list, but that is highly recommended that you do that resolution and designate that authorized representative. Now, in the next box, you will just find general contact information. That's optional, along with the box after that, which is another place for you to put in contact information, and that's optional as well. But we highly recommend also that you put someone into those contact information, so if we have an issue with your account, that we can reach you easily. On this screen in box 8 will be the contact information we just talked about. This is optional, but I want you to take specific concern for boxes 9 and 9A, because this is where you'll actually be accepting the funds, but you have the option to deny them as well. My guess is if you're here learning about how to apply for the funds, you're probably going to hit yes. But just be aware, if you hit no and you fully intend to decline the funds, those funds will be put back into the state's ARPA fund and then redistributed to municipalities throughout the state. So if you did want to decline the funds, but then you decide that you want to do the funds, you can do that as well, and there'll be a process where you just go back, start over, and start a new application. And we'll cover that a couple of times in this presentation. But for today's purposes, we would like for you to hit the yes button so you say that you accept the funds, and then we can move forward with your application process. Once you have accepted the funds, as you see in box 9B, hit next, and then you'll move on to your financial information. The first thing is to certify that you have the current or the appropriate budget for the application process. That is not your current budget, that is your 2020 budget that you had during the COVID-19 pandemic. So that would be your last year's budget. So make sure you have the right one, you certify it, and then you move on to adding your financial information or your banking information, which is very simple. It's your bank's name, the address, and then you'll have to verify the last 4 digits of the right account number. And then just hit next. When you get to box 11, you'll see that you're still adding financial information and information about your municipality. So follow the drop-down menus, and then you'll be adding your DUNS number. If you don't have your DUNS number or need to find your DUNS number, please contact us and we can give you directions on how you can locate that. Then I need you to just continue to do the checkbox certifications, and when you get done with the box 11, hit next, and this is where you're going to upload your financial documents to verify your budget numbers. In order to better understand what documents you'll need, we're going to ask Marcy Twyman from our good friends at Crawford & Associates to talk more about the documents that you'll need.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, this is really is one of the more difficult parts of this process, but we're going to try to make it as easy as we can for you. As part of the things that you certify, you have to say that your total budget does not exceed, or the allocation that you receive does not exceed 75% of your total budget. And so the question comes up, well, what is my budget? And here's a few things to consider when trying to determine what that total budget number is. First of all, it has to be the budget that's in effect as of January 27th, 2020. So for most people that have a June 30 fiscal year end, that's going to be the original budget that was in place for June 30, 2020 fiscal year. But you also have to consider that if you had any amendments to that original budget from the date your fiscal year began through January 27th, 2020, you would need to add or subtract that to the original budget number. It's important to note, though, that those amendments have to be to the total budget expenses in a particular fund. In other words, if you have an amendment that just moves budget between line items or between departments, those we don't care about because those don't impact the total budgeted expenses. So that's which budget we're talking about. Now, what expenses should we include in this total budget? Well, mainly it's all expenses. We're talking personal services, materials and supplies, other services and charges, maintenance and operations, capital outlay, debt service, contingency, miscellaneous expenses. All of those are included. What's not a part of your expenditure budget are transfers out. That's one thing that you'll have to remove if you have any of those included in your expense budget. Another thing you'll need to remove is if you've appropriated any part for reserves or for fund balance that you want to set aside to have for a rainy day type fund. So you would reduce your total expenses by those two types to determine what your total expenditure budget is. Another thing you may ask is, which funds do we include? Because most cities and towns will have more than one fund that they budget. As a general rule, if the funds that are included in the budget document that's been filed with the state auditor, that fund can be included in your total budgeted expenses. And that includes even public trusts. If you include your public trust in your overall budget that you send to the state auditor, then that can be counted as well. There are some smaller towns, perhaps, if you follow the estimate of needs law, you may only budget your general fund, but maybe you have some other funds that you just don't budget. If that's the case, Treasury has given us an option to include those funds based on your actual expenses from the previous fiscal year. So for some of those smaller towns and cities, if you have a case like that, you may want to get with us so we can help you determine exactly what to put as your total budget number, because we want you to get as much as you can. So we want to be sure to include all of that. Then finally, we need to end up by talking about what documentation do you need to provide to upload into the state's portal. And basically, if you have a budget summary that shows all funds and all expenses, that's the best thing that you can provide. Usually it's 1 or 2 pages. If you don't have a summary, you might want to create one and then attach to that each expenditure page for each fund's total expenses. I know that's a little more work, but I mean, that's what we have to do to document it. Another thing, if you're an estimate of needs, city or town, you can include the page that shows the total appropriations for FY20. So those are just a few of the guidelines that we hope will help you in coming to that total budget number. Obviously, we'll be here to answer questions if you're still unsure as to what number to put.
Marcy, that was a very helpful explanation of what documents that we will need to upload. Now let's talk about actually physically uploading the documents. You'll see on the screen on box label number 12 that there's a simple button that just says upload your documents. You hit that, you upload the documents, and then they're in the state portal. So here's some helpful hints on that. First of all, once you've identified the documents, it's a good idea to go ahead and scan them and have them on the device that you're actually applying for your funds on. So have them on that device, and then this will move very quickly. Then you'll just hit next. And for all intents and purposes, what you're doing in the process, this is the last step for your application. So, but I want you to read on the box labeled number 13, you'll see that after you finish this portion of it, you will receive an email from the state, and then you'll need to follow the instructions on that because there's some attestations that you'll need to do in there. And once you have completed the directions in that email that you will receive within 24 hours of completing this particular process, then your funds will actually be released and be sent to you. So be looking for that email within 24 hours after finishing the process. Now, as I said, for all intents and purposes, you're done. But I'm going to give you another helpful hint on how to go back and just check to make sure everything is right in your application. After you've completed that final step, you'll find yourself back at the main page. And if you'll look down in the bottom right-hand corner of box 14 that you see on your screen, you'll see your account number under financial activity. You also see that number 1 next to the financial activity, noting that you have a document that is downloaded in the portal. Go ahead and hit the link on your account number, and then just go back and review your information one last time just to make sure it's correct. If it's not, make your changes. If it's correct, then you're done for the day and you just need to wait for that email from the state. Now let's talk about some of the known missteps and mistakes that we've encountered along the way assisting municipalities in signing up for their funds. What happens if you're in the middle of filling out your application and all of a sudden you get an error message on the screen? Or maybe there was a problem with your internet, or who knows what could have disrupted you. Don't worry, you just need to go back to the beginning, log in, start a new application, and start the process over. It will not impact your ability to get your funds whatsoever. So what if you do complete your application and then you go back and review it and you realize that you've got wrong information in there? Well, that's just the same scenario. Go back, start a new application, just start the process over and get all the correct information in there. And then once you hit submit, that will be the application that we will use to process your funds. And finally, what if you are one of those municipalities who decided, we're just not going to take those funds, but then after second thought, you decided, you know what, we really could use those funds to help our community, and you want to change your mind. That's okay too. All you need to do is go in and start a new application, even though that you declined them, but this time accept the funds, and then that will be the application that we accept. So there's not a lot of problems that you're going to encounter in this that we can't help you through, and you've got lots of support to help you in this process. Now let's talk about moving forward and the things that you can expect in the coming days and months. First, as we mentioned earlier, you'll be receiving an email from the state after you finish your work on the portal. You'll need to follow the instructions on that email, and then you'll be eligible to receive your funds. Once that has been done and your funds have been processed, you will actually receive them in 2 payments. You receive half of your award after you finish your work on the portal and you complete the email sent by the state, and then you will receive the other half of your award 12 months later. So this will come in 2 payments and will span 2 budget cycles for your municipality. Also, your very first report to the United States Treasury Department is on October 31st of this year. So please have that marked on your calendar. We will be sending out plenty of instructions on how you filed that report. So don't worry, you'll have plenty of support in order to get that report done on time. Let's talk about that help, because we have put together an incredible team of municipal professionals to be able to assist you through every part of this process. You obviously have the team at OML, but you also have our partners at OMAG and our good friends at Crawford & Associates. This is a group that has years and years of municipal experience and will be able to help with any problem you might encounter. But you also have incredible help with the state through the OMES office. We'll be able to support you. And then the state of Oklahoma has also hired a professional management organization to help with not only this process, but the process of allocating their $1.9 billion that's different than ours. That group is called Guidehouse, and they've been incredible to work with. and have really helped us this point. In fact, even helping create this presentation today. So as I said, you have plenty of support. Don't worry, we're going to get you through this process of getting your funds, assisting you in how to spend those funds, and making sure that everything that you do will stand up to any kind of audit that might come down from the federal government. We are here to support you. Before we end the presentation, I just want to give you a few more helpful hints in how to more effectively fill out your application. We mentioned very early on in the presentation that you will receive an email from the state outlining how you can get your logon credentials. Go ahead, find that email, get that done before you even start the process. Also, we have sent you a worksheet that details everything that you will need to enter into the portal. I highly suggest you fill that worksheet out, have it next to you, and it'll make the process go so much faster. Also, we talked about having your budget documents already identified, scanned, and on the device that you are going to be doing your application on. That will also speed up the process. And then finally, you can download and print this very presentation. I would print this out, have it next to you, and then you'll have a step-by-step guide in how to complete the application process. This process was designed to be easy. I don't think that you will find it cumbersome at all. If you encounter problems, we've got plenty of support to help you. So I wish you all the luck in applying for your funds, and know that in the coming weeks, we'll be providing more guidance on how you can better spend those funds and really make a great impact in your community. Thanks again for watching. I'm Mike Fina, Executive Director of the Oklahoma Municipal League.